Now, welcome to today's video. I'm here with one of our new arrivals, Little Chance. She's a dog who needs a second chance, and I wanted to talk to you today, a completely different video actually. It's about depression and anxiety, but it's by no means a depressing video. I'm hoping it's actually the opposite. I've been very open in the past that I suffered from depression and anxiety, and I wanted to share what that kind of looks like and what I do to beat it. And I feel like I'm never going to maybe beat it 100%, but it's an ongoing battle. So I've no problem admitting that I was an alcoholic. I used to be addicted to Valium, and I used to sort of self-medicate with depression. But since I've started the dogs a couple of years ago, I haven't drunk in over 3 years now, and since I started helping the dogs, I've got an awful lot of responsibility on my shoulders. So dogs like Little Chance here, down, well, behind me there's Tina and Snoop, who obviously died. Down there we have lots of dogs. So there's, you know, at any given time there's dozens of dogs, hundreds on the streets, and thousands that we help around Southeast Asia. So I've got a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. I used to sort of vanish and go and sleep and stuff when I had depression, or go into a dark room, but I'm kind of more proactive now, and I just wanted to explain what works for me, and also explain what depression actually is, because it's everywhere in the world, you know, in your family, in your workplace, in your circle of friends. It's a lot of stigma attached to it, but I guarantee you there's people who are hiding stuff, you know, panic attacks, maybe addiction to stuff like Xanax or Valium or whatever it is, postnatal depression. I don't know much about that in fairness, but I do know it's a big thing, and grief. There's a million types of it. So I wanted to just be really honest today and share some things that work for me, and share just my life with the dogs and how I manage it. I don't get it right all the time, far from it. I still get bouts every now and then. But let's go up to the house and see Big Hank, and I'll talk you through some of the health things that I do to help stave off anxiety and depression. Hopefully there's something in this video that can help you, or help you understand maybe some of your friends or family who have depression. Come up to the house, and I have a very special boy here with me, Mr. Hank the Tank. He's been doing his medicines this morning, his little bit of physiotherapy and acupuncture, because he's got a bad leg. And I think that's a very good way to explain. Like, I spend a lot of my time giving dogs medicines and taking them to vets and getting them physio with Sybil, and constantly getting them on vitamins and anything to get the dog better. But the people we forget about most are the ones ourselves, who have depression or who have anxiety. I've not always been good at that. Sometimes, you self-medicate with alcohol and stuff like that, but a lot of the times you just get frustrated of having depressions. I've been on antidepressants before in my life and tried different ones. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. Obviously, when you mix them with alcohol, not really good. At the moment, I should say this, like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice. It's just what I do and what proper doctors have advised me to do. So I take Lexapro, which is just a antidepressant, and I take one of those every day, and I've taken them for 3 years now, since I stopped drinking and had the bit of a breakdown, and they work by and large. The only time I mess up is some days I will miss 2 days in a row. I'll forget to buy them in the chemists, or I'll just you forget your tablets, and I can feel it. I start having issues straight away. So Lexapro is a very important one for me. But recently what I did was, Sybil talked me into it, helps me with the dogs. Mr. Hank is loving this. She talked me into just getting a full checkup, and I went over there and did blood tests, and she found a bunch of chemical imbalances. So she got me on DHEA plus, this prednisolone, and a couple of other supplements, COQ10, and what is this? This is just like vitamins, omega stuff, and also got me on drips and stuff like that. And the improvement is, oh my god, staggering. Like, I'm actually bouncing around the place with happiness, and I still have little moments, but I just think that we need to realize that depression and anxiety, people who have it's an illness. If I got a whack on the head, I wouldn't just completely ignore it. If I had, a broken leg, I wouldn't just take no medicines and be like, oh, I hope I hope I get better, you know? Like, you'd be taking what the doctor told you to. So depression, anxiety, I think it's very important to do that. We're guilty, a lot of us who have it, of just trying to get through it with willpower, and there's, especially guys, and there's no harm in saying sometimes that that's not enough, you need medical help. So I've been doing medical stuff with Sybil recently, and it has helped, I think, more than anything I've ever done, along with those tablet a day. And I don't know, will I keep doing those forever? At the moment it works. So I think that I don't love taking tablets. I think a lot of people are like that. So at the moment it works, and I'll stick with it. And that's the medical side of things, and that's very, very important. I think I've ignored that in the past, and I think a lot of people have as well. Now I want to tell you about the things you definitely shouldn't be doing. So what is depression, and what should you definitely not be doing? I want to explain, this is really for the people who are watching this who maybe don't have it, or who maybe you have it and you haven't even diagnosed it yet or whatever. It took me I'm not joking you, about 10 years to diagnose the fact that I even had depression and anxiety. I was young, 20s, didn't know what it was, thought it was hangovers, thought it was heart attacks, thought it was loads of different things. So I would suffer from what are called panic attacks. And you might think of a panic attack as like, oh, you know, I'm nervous about the football match, or I'm nervous about an exam or stuff like that. Like, that's definitely anxiety and, you know, panic. But a panic attack, as far as I know, I'm not a doctor, is, and for me, what a panic attack is when I'm overstressed, I've worked myself up, and they can come out of absolutely nowhere. And basically what happens with me is, like, my heart will start beating a lot faster. I'll start breathing really shallow, and I'll get hyper anxious. One therapist explained it to me one time really well. So when you're driving and you're about to hit like a dog or a cat maybe in the middle of the road, or a small child, you'll hit on the brakes and your body like just goes into a panic for 5-6 seconds, and like like your heart's racing, you're sweating, you're like stressed, and it's like the most horrible feeling ever, but it only lasts 5 seconds for a normal person. Well, that's a panic attack in my world, and it lasts for anywhere between 30 minutes and like 4 or 5 hours. And what it does to me is, because you're so panicked, your body becomes exhausted. So after you get through the panic attack, which is really hard, by the way, because you think you're going to die. No matter how many times you've had them, you still think you're going to die. Like, I had one recently, and I was like, okay, that's it. Done great with the dogs. This is good. You know, my life's been good, but I'm done now. Even though I've had so many, I still felt I was going to die. It's just a panic attack, but they're really bad. So the things that bring them on, and the reason I'm in bed at the moment is, I wanted to make this because people who've got depression or anxiety will know this. The first port of call is close the curtains and get into bed. And it's really, a tip would be, if anybody has depression or anxiety with you, like, give them space, because you're often not able to do more than get into bed. You are physically sick from anxiety and depression. So closing the door, like a noise outside could set me off when I've got a panic attack. Like, I could hear a noise and that would be like, oh my God, the world's going to end. Like, I could hear a chainsaw and I could convince myself somebody's coming in to chainsaw me to pieces or something. Like that's the level of anxiety you're operating at. So often bed is the place where you end up. So what brings it on super fast, and is the worst thing you can ever do, is alcohol. Alcohol, number one, like, not even close. Any types of drugs, obviously, which is more rare, but like not super rare. People do a lot of drugs these days. And then number three is like self-medicating with, like, you'll often get prescribed things like Valium or Xanax, which are a short-term relief for a panic attack. They can kill a panic attack in 20 minutes by the time they kick in, but they have they're very addictive, massively addictive, and I would stay clear of those, because half the country, half the world is on those, and they're not a good solution. The worst come down I ever had was off Xanax, which I had, maybe 7 years ago, and I had to get off it, and it was like my skin was crawling. It was horrific. So if you can do yourself one favor, I battled anxiety and depression my whole life, and alcohol, it gives you, like Xanax, it gives you 6 hours of relief, 8 hours of relief. While you get drunk, you forget about the anxiety and the depression, but the next day it comes back 5 times worse, and you have to drink again to make the anxiety go away. So that's how I became an alcoholic. But even normal people, who have a bit of anxiety will drink to just escape their own head. But as you know, if you've got it, the next day is horrific. So it's definitely not worth it. It's a big sacrifice to cut out alcohol for a lot of people. But I was going to die if I didn't do it. Like, that simple. I was going to drink myself to death. And a lot of people, it just is a vicious cycle. They fix their anxiety a little bit, drink more, goes up and down and up and down. So avoid alcohol, avoid drugs, and avoid Xanax and Valium and those type of things. Again, not medical advice. Some people will need Xanax short term to calm them down, but it's not a long-term fix. So those are the things to avoid. Now I'm going to show you the one thing that really helps me along with the dogs. One thing that would help us massively is if you hit the subscribe button. It's I like sharing these videos because I think they can help somebody out there. So a subscribe would help massively, or a like, one or the other. Thanks very much. Oh, that is the end. I've never made a video when I'm out of breath, but that is an end of about a 6k run, I think, 6.5k. And I just want to say that it's part of my toolkit. If I run 5k every day, I can guarantee that the next day is probably going to be okay. Not always, because depression and anxiety rears its head, you know, at the strangest of times. And what I will say is, I'm running at the moment, but as I said earlier in the video, even having a dog like Hank is a little bit of energy in the mornings. There's times, or the afternoons, there's times when I wake up with anxiety or depression and I can't even walk him 100 yards. I'm not joking. And even just, he licks my face and I get annoyed because I'm so anxious or irritable, I think is the word I'm looking for, which comes with depression. So I really wanted to say that the things that work for me, and these are not the things for everybody. If I run a 5k every day, sometimes more, sometimes I can only do less, but mostly 5k or thereabouts, I will feel good the next day. I mean, it's pretty obvious really. If you put something like a beer and a Valium and 2 glasses of wine when you get home from work in your office job or your hospitality work or whatever it is you work at, you're probably not going to, because you're feeling anxious, you're not going to feel great the next day. The anxiety is still going to be there. It's going to be worse. I think of it like a fuel cage in a car. Me coming for the run gives me a bit more fuel. Me putting something like a beer, or obviously I don't drink anymore or anything like that, but somebody who maybe does drink, if you slip those couple of beers in, or those couple of wines or the Xanax to go to sleep, don't expect it to be better the next day. And that's coming from somebody who's been in the depths of it for 20 years. So I'm not preaching in any way whatsoever. But running for me is good. Massages, they've got really good Thai massages, which is like the hard one where the old women like crunch into your bones. So that really resets me. And also going for walks with the dog. So I'm doing 5k, but if you don't feel great, just 1k, 2k, walk around the blocks, go walk to the park. Just putting one step in front of the other. Sounds so easy for people who don't have depression, but if you do have it, and you, like me, you know how hard that can be. Just put one step in front of the other. That's all I'll say. Now, where we're off to next is back to the land to see the dogs, and I'm going to tell you, I do unfortunately still have some vices, so I'm going to tell you about the vices. Time to cool down, get some water, and go back to the land. Now I'm back at the land. The dogs are all playing around me. I've got Solo here. I've got Mr. Fox. Yeah, Solo, you're in the video, Mr. Fox. Thanks very much. Yeah, they're all wanting to come in. Sophie's there looking over my shoulder. Mr. Fox is one of the all-time favourites. I hope this video was in some ways enjoyable. I'm going to show you a couple of my vices now in a second, but what I wanted to say is that I know so many people who struggle with this around the world, and I get messages. I used to have employees, so people would talk to me, friends, but I know that it's a very taboo subject for a lot of people, so that's why I want to just try and talk about it as much as possible openly. The things that I've shared today are the things that what are you fighting about, you two? Oh, you're playing. The things that I've talked about affect absolutely everything, and what really annoys me is like Instagram and TikTok type videos. Everything is kind of how to get rich quick, how to get slim in 6 weeks, how to fix your mental health. But I mean, it's not really, like, life is not easy. There's a lot of ups and downs like that. I think that there's madness going on behind me. I think that that is really counterproductive, that stuff. When you have depression and anxiety, it's it's tough and it's not easy, and like I'm taking you through a bit of a day today where things are going really well, and because I've done all that, things should go well tomorrow. I'm going to leave these guys in here because they're playing themselves, and they're happy. Say goodbye, everybody. So I'm going to go in now and show you these vices I was talking about. So in summary, really, depression is not something that you can take a pill for and it just goes away. Like I said, I take a few pills. One, I'm taking those supplements at the moment, which are massively helpful. The other things that I've done is I've set myself up in life in a sunny place. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but one of the biggest things that used to drive my depression was when I lived in Ireland and England, was rain and bad weather and, lack of sunshine. And that might sound silly, but it's a real thing. And it's more the culture. It's more like I'm outside here, and the culture means that I'm with dogs, which is something that I love doing. Whereas if I'm in Ireland or England, it's cold, you end up in the pub, there's nothing else to do. And that's how life is. And so I think if you do suffer from depression or anxiety or anything like that, I think it's really worth making a sort of a life change that can really have a positive impact. So to the vices, it's not everybody can be perfect all the time. Like today, you're probably looking at mine and you're like, oh my God, how does he look after all the dogs? How does he run 5K? There's a million other things. But that's an ideal day. There's some days where I literally cannot get out of bed. And I've no shame saying that. Like I literally cannot get out of bed. It's so bad. But that's life, We've got to use all these tools to try and get better. Now, having said that, I have so many things that it feels like a huge checklist of things that I have to do, like run, take tablets, sleep well, get sunshine. But there's sometimes that I just can't. So this is my vices. It's really bad. Like this is a really bad lunch. But sometimes the day's long. I've run 6.5K. I've helped dogs. So I feel like I deserve it. It's fried chicken, Thai style fried chicken, really tasty. It's unbelievable. It costs about $1.50, maybe not $1.20. £1.20. £1 I think it costs, about €1 and 50 cents. And then I've Coke. Now if I really wanted to be unbelievable and beat my depression once for all, I'd be doing extra breathing work, which I do. I'd be doing a perfect diet, eating like salmon and avocado and brain food, and but life's not that easy. And this is a good day. Like I said, there's so many bad days where I can barely get out of bed, and I just have to get through with it. And you just have to use all these tools that I've shared today that work for me. And that's the reason I do it, is for the dogs. Like obviously I do it for myself to be healthy, but mainly for the dogs, because if I'm not healthy, the dogs suffer and I can't do my stuff as well. And I've got, like I said at the very start, I've got so much responsibility on my shoulders at the moment. If you think about the amount of people we sterilizing partners, like over 2,000 dogs a month, everybody needs money for that. There's like admin stuff that we have to do, there's partnerships we have to build, there's dogs that need to be saved here on the ground, there's food, there's so much, and I can't let those dogs or people down. And if I don't do all these things to help my anxiety and depression, like running and tablets and a bunch of other stuff that I haven't even mentioned, like therapy, meditation, I'll try anything that will beat this. And I know everybody else is the same, but it's not always easy. And don't feel like it is. Don't feel like that I've got it cracked, because I don't. It's still a work in progress. It's taken me 20 years to get this far. So sorry for a long video today, but I just do know that there's some people out there who suffer from anxiety, depression, or maybe have a partner or a friend or somebody who does, and this might be helpful for them. The answer is definitely not bottles of Coke, Ritter chocolate and fried chicken, but it's a good day. And the alternative was drinking 10 pints and having 6 Valiums in a day. So this is way better. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, and sorry for rabbiting on for so long.